Star Wars Battlefront 2, a game that I've been looking forward to, well, since they said it was going to have a campaign, but I was also very interested in the fact that they acknowledged the lack of content and that they were going to rectify that, but what the gaming community has been talking about the last few days has been what they didn't say they were including, and everyone is pissed. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx we ask the question, has EA done enough to repair Battlefront 2's damage? So let's just say it. Battlefront 2 is a $60 game that was designed around the freemium business model that we see in free mobile games. There's an in-game currency that you can use to buy loot boxes. Those loot boxes may or may not contain rewards. Those rewards can affect gameplay. I mean, they really can affect gameplay, and only really the top tier stuff has been cordoned off as only attainable through play. A lot of fairly rare and useful cards are available by simply putting some money into the Star Wars. It's over, Anakin! I've purchased the higher ground. They've embraced a business model that oftentimes is exploitative to those with addictive tendencies, either because of emotional or actual mental condition-oriented reasons, or maybe they're just naive like children, because a lot of people playing Star Wars games are children, but it's also important to recognize that it's not just that problem. Making the assumption that there were no loot boxes in Star Wars Battlefront 2, and that the grinding was fair on account they didn't have a profit incentive built in to make grinding annoying so that you would spend money on the gambling element, making the assumption all that stuff isn't in the game. Yes, this game absolutely is an improvement from the previous Battlefront in a lot of ways, but it is also, in a lot of ways, not enough. For one, I've had minimal bugs in my playtime, but I've seen so many reports of bugs that I feel like everybody is probably experiencing at least the level of bugs that I have experienced. And I've had some weird clipping issues, I've gotten stuck a few times, stuff that in a multiplayer game directly hinders your ability to, compete in any way, shape, or form. And there's additional frustration from that element of the game, but it's also not just that. Like I said, the very big reason I was excited for Star Wars Battlefront 2 was the inclusion of a single-player campaign. That's what I was here for, my friends. And the one included in this game, you can blaze through it. The only reason that they could have possibly done what they've done with the campaign in this game is that they didn't want to fuck with it. And if you want to know what disappoints me the most, I really enjoy the gameplay for the game. I love that they broke it up into classes. I love the revamped Starfighter stuff. For an arcade Star Wars shooter, this is exactly what I want. And that is perhaps the most frustrating part of it, because it doesn't work right. And the way they tried to make money off of people, despite the fact they've already made $60 off them, it's all infuriating. And I felt like I needed to sum up the problems before I say anything about what EA has even done to try to rectify the situation. They shut the microtransactions off, not the loot boxes, so there's still gambling of in-game currency that you earn by playing the game, but you can't actually purchase anything. You can't actually buy things in the game right now. So there's no real money going in, at least at the moment. It is temporary, it is not something that they have said will be the ongoing situation, and I hope that people are mad about that, because seriously, that's really angering to hear. Like, their assumption is that they could just shut it off, wait until this blows over, and then turn it back on. It's my personal theory that this controversy became so big that Disney was like, okay, this is our property, this is something we do not want going on a high public scale as we launch the next Star Wars movie. EA, you gotta hit abort, we need to stop this for now, we can worry about it after the movie has made all its money, but right now is not the time. That's not based in any information at all, though, that's just my personal theory. Additionally, there's the move that they made when the beta went up and everybody tried it out and was like, this is a pay-to-win game. They've been desperately trying to make course corrections to regain control over the narrative of the game that they just released. And I think that pretty much puts you up to speed on this situation. We've got a lot of anger coming from the gaming community. If you've been on the Star Wars Battlefront Reddit, which until a few weeks ago was extremely excited about this game, and then the beta happened and the mood changed. And then a few days ago, the EA Early Access people got access to the game and the mood got much worse because what they did to fix the beta loot box problem was not massive. When people got angry about it initially, it was reported by most people who were paying attention to the situation that EA heard them and is making changes to try to make the game more fair. See, there's kind of a big problem with that, though. Something is either fair or it's not fair. There are now governments in the world that are looking into loot boxes as possibly a gambling scam. Specifically, Belgium is kind of like, this seems a lot like gambling to us. We shall have our gambling commission look into it. Keeping in mind this is an actual government as opposed to a self-regulatory commission like the ESRB, this could get a lot more harsh. Let's be honest, a self-regulatory commission is not bound by any law, nor are companies that use self-regulation required to follow their recommendations. If Belgium sets a precedent, considers this gambling, and outlaws it, it's only a matter of time until other places do the same. Now, EA released a statement on the gambling saying the crate mechanics of Star Wars Battlefront 2 are not gambling. A player's ability to succeed in the game is not dependent on purchasing crates. Players can also earn crates through playing the game and not spending any money at all. Which is true, but the obscene times reported for having to get Darth Vader, for instance, indicate the game may not be fun at all if you have to just repeatedly grind for what would normally be considered not very high goals to attain. Obviously, in such a business model, the goal is to get people to spend money. So in some way, they have to punish you for not spending money. So whether or not they say you have to spend money is less important about whether or not they punish you if you don't spend money. And they do. A forum user on Reset Era by the name of Aokiji did the math, and you could either spend $2,100 or 4,528 hours of your time to unlock everything in the game. Now, you can't tell me that isn't punishment for not spending money. Also, that's a lot of money. Now, just halting the ability to spend money on the crystal currency does obviously stop the massive problem with the game. It doesn't fix the bugs. It doesn't make everything work right. They also didn't really address whether or not it's still going to be a massive grind in the interim, before they turn the microtransactions back on. That's not enough. No, you have so much to do. You need to patch the shit out of this game. I need to not be getting stuck in walls, ever, period. This is a multiplayer game. And the single player, maybe since I paid $60 for a game, there should be a game. I didn't pay $5 for episode 1. Like, you remember when No Man's Sky, people were angry about that and we were like, did they do enough? Months later, it kind of felt like it was a better game. The problem with that is the original intent of the game was good, whereas the original intent of all the stuff that was included in Star Wars Battlefront was essentially bad. Here, have a broken game. Pay us for an advantage in it. Like, the contention in a freemium business model is that the game itself should be free. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is not free. It is a $60 game. Is it the most broken game I've ever played in my life? No, but I've played a lot of games. I've paid $60 for a lot of games that were broken, and I've been mad about it pretty much every time. And the question of whether or not they've done enough, I don't know if they ever can do enough. Short of literally changing the nature of the game, and even then, I feel like there's some trust lost. If you remember when Xbox One was announced, they were like, it's going to be required to be on all the time for DRM purposes. And people were like, what? No, no, no. Sony came out and was just like, yeah, our system's about the games. Don't need the internet. Not doing that stuff. And Sony has had a dominant role in this console generation. And frankly, it's not because the Xbox's hardware is worse. In fact, the Xbox One X's hardware is better, but people still are like, ah. And of course, Sony isn't actually on your side, but they observed the situation and did the right thing. Which leads me to the small bit of hope that I have regarding this situation. No, Electronic Arts has not done enough to repair the damage. But I also kind of feel like this really needed to happen. Frankly, people need to stay angry at EA for this, for all of this. From the loot boxes to the incompleteness, this game's a damn microcosm of most of the things that are wrong with gaming. All of the problems that we have complained about are on display in a single title that is getting media attention, that people who are normally fairly mainstream in the gaming community are taking seriously, and it's being looked at like these things are actual problems. Not just like, oh, the dumb gamers are complaining, but like, hey, these things are not really acceptable when they have people spend $60 up front. EA flew too close to the sun on wings of wax here, and it's legitimately possible that Icarus may be falling to the ground. Icarus being these business practices, incompleteness, shoddy workmanship, and tacked-on gambling economies. This stuff is all being talked about on a level I have never seen it talked about, and that may be the thing that saves gaming. For us, the people who play games. I'm not sure EA can do enough to repair Battlefront 2's damage. I think the industry has to work at repairing Star Wars Battlefront 2's damage. Because this is damaging the industry. This could get better, but people can't let up. Now that doesn't mean harass people, all that does is misdirect anger in the wrong place. The corporate entities, the shareholders, the boards of directors, the people who make the decisions, that's who you should be angry at. If that anger is directed into the right place, we might be able to change this whole thing, the whole industry, the entirety of gaming, for the better. And we're starting to see the results. Yes, this has become a big event in the world of drama, so to speak. Here's the thing, when you focus drama on exploitative business practices and enlighten the masses as to what they are, it can be very useful. We're already starting to see the company act due to backlash. That backlash needs to keep up because now the Washington Post is even reporting on it, asking them if they would promise, if they would guarantee that pay-to-win mechanics would be removed from the game. EA wouldn't answer the Washington Post. This is an indicator that they have not received enough pressure. The fact that the Washington Post of all places is pushing them on it, something that mainstream, means we need to keep doing exactly what we are doing. This kind of crap has been ruining gaming for too long. This is big, folks. I mean big. It's an opportunity, and we need to take it. What did you think of Star Wars Battlefront 2? Am I right in saying it's not just the microtransactions and loot boxes? There's other stuff wrong with this game, and it sucks because it could have been a good game. It's definitely a better game in its mechanics than the first one, and it's really frustrating. If you enjoyed this video, please click like, and if you're not subscribed, now would be a good time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.